I'm about truth and inching as close to it as I possibly can. And the reason I say that and why it's so important is because I'm going to say something that a lot of people out there don't want me to say.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering. America. Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. I've said it once, and I'm going to keep on saying it until it sinks into everybody. Politics is downstream from culture. Culture wars are very important, and when cultural influencers speak, you don't have to agree with them, but you should certainly listen. Now, I'm not just talking about the culture warriors of Hollywood and TV and music and all that are just woohoo out there sometimes. I'm talking about people who are honest brokers, who care about their culture, who care about what's going to happen in the future of this country. And one of those people, I happen to believe, is just my opinion, that Stephen A. Smith is one of them. Now, I don't like everything Stephen A. Smith says, whether it be politics or sports, but I do agree with him about some things. I agree that the Dallas Cowboys are absolute trash.
The problem I have with what Shannon's just said is that he said anybody outside of a delusional Cowboy fan. The problem with that is that delusional Cowboy fans are like cockroaches. They're everywhere.
They never go away.
Everywhere. Yeah, and so the problem with that is that, there's too many of them.
I agree that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Sorry, LeBron fans. And I feel his pain when it comes to the New York Knicks. As a lifelong Knicks fan, I'm right there shoulder to shoulder with Stephen A. about the Knicks and what they've been going through for decades now. And when it comes to politics, though, I'm not necessarily with him on everything, but I listen and I try to get lessons from what I think is an honest broker trying to talk from the middle of the country, not necessarily far left, not necessarily far right, but somewhere in the middle, certainly left-leaning in a lot of respects. But as this video will show, Stephen A. Smith has a lot to say to the left that they can learn from the right and vice versa. But before we get to all that, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you see or hear in this or any of our other videos, smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends because, as you know, it all feeds the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me Seymour.
Before we get to some specific issues, I want my conservative friends watching right now to listen to this from Stephen A. Smith. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
When you think about conservatism and what have you, talking about free market capitalism, you're talking about protecting the borders, you're talking about prioritizing national security, amongst other things. Some of it makes sense, some of it's a bit extreme. On the left, government intervention is necessary with black people. I'm a black man. If government didn't intervene, the government didn't intervene, would civil rights have taken place in 64, with the Voting Rights Act taking place in 65? I am fully aware that both sides you can look at and you can point out positives and negatives. I don't have a problem with liberalism. I have a problem with how extreme it has become.
I hope that whets your appetite for what you're about to see here. Stephen A. Smith has put himself right in the middle, and he's trying to send a message to both sides. So if you can listen to the rest of this without prejudice, I think we're going to hear a lot of things that we're going to like, a lot of things that we're not going to like, but all things that we have to consider going forward into 2024. So I'm going to open it up with just a clip from Stephen A.'s rant about politics, and I encourage you guys to find the full video. In fact, I'm going to put it in the top right-hand corner of the screen so you can click it right there, and it's also going to be in the description below. Check out the entire uncut rant. It's well worth the watch.
I have nothing, absolutely positively nothing against the transgender community. But I don't want my daughter going into a bathroom with men who have decided that they're women.
I don't think any conservative would disagree with that, right? But believe it or not, this is a middle-of-the-road stance. I think the left has gone too far in a lot of respects socially, this being one of them. And Stephen A. Smith is out there not only giving the left a wake-up call, but signaling to the right that this is an issue that the independents, people in the middle, will agree with them on.
No. No. You live your life, you do what you want to do. But as a parent, there are certain things that I wouldn't want my child subjected to. I don't think you should have your civil rights violated. I don't think that you should be violated. I don't think that people should inflict violence upon you. I don't believe that you should be treated as a different kind of a citizen compared to all other citizens in the United States of America.
Again, is there something that you disagree with there? Leave me a comment if you disagree with any part of this rant from Stephen A. Smith, but especially this part. I think what he's advocating for here is for common sense, especially when it comes to parenting and children, while at the same time balancing out equal rights for everyone. No one should be subjected to violence because of who they are or what they believe. I think that we can all get behind that message.
But just like I have that preference, I also don't want my daughters around porn stars who are engaging in heterosexual activity either. Why? Because that's not what the hell I want.
Again, would a conservative disagree with that? If he wants to have the freedom to protect his daughter from that activity, he should certainly have it. Maybe freedom's not the right word. Maybe the privilege to be able to parent as he needs to. Although I think parenting and the rights of parents should be respected. You may want to call it a privilege, what have you. But I think conservatives would agree with Stephen A. Smith here, saying that parents have the right to determine what their children will be exposed to. And people on the left, or even on the far right, shouldn't have a say in imposing their point of view on a given individual or a family. Again, nothing earth-shattering here from Stephen A. Smith, in my opinion.
Everybody's entitled to their preferences and their proclivities. You're also entitled to not be subjected to certain things or to have your children subjected to certain things if you don't want to. I get it.
I think we all get that. And I think, honestly, that's a nice middle-of-the-road position to have. And if this is what the middle of the road looks like, maybe the right can learn to adopt some of this language going forward in 2024. And heaven forbid the left do the same thing. Next up, Stephen A. Smith goes at immigration reform. Let's see what he has to say here.
I'm a supporter of immigration reform. I'm a supporter of immigrants. They made this country what it is today. But you know what I'm not a supporter of? A supporter of open free borders, where everybody just come. My boy Jeff, that lives in California, my childhood buddy, said it best. If you go to Six Flags Great Adventure or Disneyland in Anaheim or Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and you spent 2 hours standing on a line, but then all of a sudden, right when you're getting ready to get on a ride, somebody who didn't stand on line jumped in front of you to get on the ride, you'd be ready to fight.
Absolutely. This issue hits home for me because I sponsored a friend to legally immigrate to America, and it took years and sponsor letters and paperwork and proof. And, by the way, he was married to a friend who was a citizen, and it still took years. And I saw that struggle, and I internalized that struggle and compared it to what's been going on at the southern border. And man, it is absolutely unfair to subject someone to go through a rigorous legal process while others just get to walk in because they have access to a southern border. Stephen A. Smith is articulating a conservative talking point here. The left is probably furious at him for this, but this is Stephen A. being real. I don't think Stephen A. Smith can be anything but real. I think that he has a mouth, he has a big mouth, and I think that he uses it to say what he wants to say when he wants to say it and be damned what anybody else thinks about it. And I can respect that about him.
Because you're like, wait a minute, get your ass to the back of the line like the rest of us did. That's immigration. It's people in the country mandating that A, you come through our borders through legal means so you can be documented and you have to pay taxes and all of that stuff like the rest of us. And outside of that, you don't skip the line. That's all we talking here. I'm not a supporter of not allowing folks to come into this country. It makes us better. I'm just saying the means by which you arrive. It needs to be held to a standard that all of us are obligated to meet. That's all.
Should we send a change of voter registration card to Stephen A. Smith? That is straight out of Republican conservative talking points about immigration. No one is anti-immigration. People are anti-illegal immigration. The process matters. We can only do so much for so many, and it's unfair to subject legal immigrants to a rigorous process and then just throw away the rules for people at the southern border. It's not sustainable. It's not feasible. I don't know about you guys, but Stephen A. Smith is making a lot of sense to me, but the best is yet to come because he tackles his positions on the two lead candidates for president, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It's about to get a little controversial for you guys, especially partisans out there. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Okay, gang, it's about to get controversial because Stephen A. Smith, who identifies himself as a liberal, is going to give his take on Trump and Biden. Stephen A. Smith is not exactly a Trump supporter. He's also not a Biden supporter either. And if you really listen, I think that Trump supporters and the Trump campaign, and indeed every Republican left in the race for president, can learn about what the middle wants, what independent voters want in their president. Let's give it a listen. And again, judge slowly here. Listen without prejudice.
I bring all of this up to say there's a lot of issues that you can point to the left and the right. But we got a problem. Because, ladies and gentlemen, from what they're telling us, it's going to be two choices. We're either going to re-elect a president that was impeached twice, that was indicted 4 times this year, that has 91 counts against him, that is all, at least possibly, can be wearing a zebra suit because he could be incarcerated. Either that candidate or a dude in President Joe Biden, respectfully, who is 80 and really looks it.
I can already hear both sides yelling at me right now. From the right, I'm hearing Trump's not going to be indicted. These are trumped up charges, pun intended. He's going to get past all of this. This is a witch hunt. This is all partisan nonsense, and it's being a DOJ that is absolutely against him, and it's a witch hunt and all that. And yes, I get it. There are legal arguments yet to be made in every single one of those cases. It may not come to pass. I get all that. Put it to the side for a second. And then I hear on the left, oh, Joe Biden is very good for his age. His mind is right. Look how spry he is. He's full of energy. Okay, I get it. You like the guy too. Listen without prejudice. This is what the middle is saying to both sides. You have Trump on one side who's facing prosecution, and you have Joe Biden on the other side facing senility, facing the void, as it were. We get it.
There's a lot of 80-year-olds, 85-year-olds who are walking around in this country. They're vibrant, they're active, they're full of life, they're lucid, they articulate themselves very well. They'll put 50-year-olds to shame, especially intellectually. Nobody's accusing Joe Biden of that. And it's one thing for us to be quiet because we don't want Trump getting back into office, and instead of governing the country, he's on a vengeance tour, on a mission to exact vengeance against all who opposed him, Republicans and Democrats and everybody in between. On the flip side, we can't have people that's imploring us to be silent as stuff is taking place before our very eyes, and we just supposed to sit idly by and say nothing. Biden has lost momentum. He's not the same. He's not the same. You can talk about faux pas and little sound bites that he throw out and people on the right would ridicule him about it and all of this other stuff. It's not funny. That was funny. Just like you can make fun of George W. Bush when he sat up there and was like, fool me once. You're never gonna fool me again. No, that's funny. This ain't.
Again, there's messages here for the left and the right. For the right, Stephen A. Smith is saying we don't need a president that runs a vendetta for 4 years. Now, Trump supporters can say that a vendetta is needed. And you know what? To some extent, I think that accounts need to be taken when and if President Trump returns to the Oval Office. I think there is a swamp. I think there is a deep state. And I don't like to see that. I think that needs to be measured without the idea of vengeance for Trump. Accountability is one thing, vengeance is another. And I think this point should be very well taken when you consider that Stephen A. Smith, who here is representing the middle, seems to agree on the issues a lot with conservatives. You heard the conservative talking points on immigration reform and on transgenderism. That should be encouraging to Republicans going into 2024. Do you want to risk all that based on one candidate's attempt at vengeance? And then on the left, to just use Trump as your punching bag and not recognize that Joe Biden is not fit for the job, as I've said in other videos, feeble body, feeble mind, and all that. If you don't recognize that, you're doomed to lose as well. So the message to both sides from the middle, which Stephen A. Smith is trying to represent here, even though he's liberal, I get all that, but he's trying to represent that middle-of-the-line voice, is to say, a pox on both your houses. Stop acting buffoonishly and start putting the country first. Start putting issues first. There's a lot of serious things going on. There's a lot of serious issues that we're going to have to tackle, from Israel to Ukraine to China and Taiwan. So much internationally. And then domestically, inflation, cost of living. Our salaries are not going up. He says all this in the video, and I didn't clip it here. That's why I want you to go watch the entire thing. Again, it's in the description below. But there are lessons here for both sides. Start listening to the middle a little bit, because eventually, once the partisan candidates are picked, it's a race to the middle. And this is a sneak preview of what the middle looks like right now. From a man who, again, he has his own personal biases. I have my personal biases. But I give him enough credit for saying the quiet part out loud to both sides. There's a reckoning coming within each party during this primary season, and the side that reckons with it the best is going to win out in November of next year. At least that's my prediction. I want to know what you guys think about this rant from Stephen A. Smith. Did you take any lessons from it that I missed? Are you discounting the entire thing as just attention grabbing? Or do you believe that this is really going to influence mainstream people who aren't engaged in politics? Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Let's have a real conversation about what it's going to take to win in 2024 from both sides of the aisle.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.